the first thing I want to do is I just want to get you guys to think about, and I know I'm preaching to the choir here with you kids, you students being here, is the fact that the importance of being in a STEM-related educational field, science, technology, engineering, and math. And I think it's very important what MESA is doing in trying to entice you guys and support you guys to stay in these fields. You know, technology is what's going to keep this country being the great country that it is today. And it behooves us to engage all segments of society in terms of giving them an opportunity to pursue a career in science, technology, engineering, and math. And I remember, I think Jill Biden, the wife of the Vice President, Joe Biden, was presiding over these, and she said some words that really, really struck at me, and it gets you to think. And she said, you know, the countries that are out educating us today are going to out-compete us tomorrow. And that's kind of like a wake-up call for us to say, you know, we got to make sure we afford every possibility to give the kids to be able to get a good college education. And I applaud the efforts of companies like PG&E that you know, step up to the plate and write those checks so that MESA can continue doing what it's doing, all the great things that they're doing. Because you know what? I'm a product of MESA. I was a MESA student. I was sitting at the same table you guys are sitting at right now. During undergraduate at the University of Pacific, as I was an engineering student, I was a MESA student. When I was in graduate school at UC Santa Barbara, Los Ingenieros, the minority engineering program, I was a MESA student. So you see, good products come out of MESA. You got good PG&E employees here that stood up here. A lot of PG&E students that end up coming from the ranks of you guys. So it's very important that we embrace this opportunity that we're being given to keep continuing with our education. And I know a lot of you, believe me, a lot of you, especially as you're struggling with courses and saying, you know, I want to be an engineer or scientist. And, you know, believe me, I know the first 2 years of an engineering curriculum, those are what they call the weeding out classes. Because if you can't hack it in physics and calculus, well, you become a business major, right? I hope our sponsor isn't but I'm here to tell you that, you know, when I went to college, when I went to Pacific as a freshman from high school, you know, I took physics, I took calculus, I took chemistry and Fortran, and it was kicking my butt. It was, I'm telling you, it was kicking my, to the point where I was thinking about dropping out. I said, you know, I'm going to drop out. And you know what? It's very easy to let yourself down, but it's very hard to let your family down. And that's all I could think of in a sense. How can I tell my parents that I'm dropping out of college? So there's no way I'm going to do that to them. So I kept burning the midnight oil, trying to figure out how to study more efficiently, put study groups together for chemistry and Fortran and physics. And you know, I got through it. And you'll get through it. You just kind of work hard and believe in yourself. Get the help early on, and you'll see that you'll be able to make it through. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. You know, I come from a migrant, typical migrant farm working family. First generation, was born here up near Stockton. And a lot of people say, well, what's a typical migrant farm working family like? Well, my parents are from Mexico, to be precise, La Piedad, Michoacan. If you hold Mexico with a pin and balance it, that's where Michoacan's at. It's right in the middle of Mexico. Every February, my dad used to load up us 4 kids into the back of the seat, the back of the car, my mom, and we would make a 2-day trip up to Southern California, down by Los Angeles. It was Ontario and Chino, and we would be there. We'd spend about a month and a half there picking strawberries. Then about A month and a half later, we would drive up to Salinas, around that area. We would work picking lechuga and lasadon. So we would pick lettuce and work honey, sugar beets. And then we would then drive up to Northern California, where we would spend a bulk of the time. This was here in Stockton, Tracy, Modesto. And we would work in el pepino, cucumbers, la cereza, cherry, el tomate verde, green tomato for market, and durazno, the peaches. And then we would close out the season with the grapes. So this would take us to about October, November time. About that time, my dad would then say to us kids, get 3 months worth of homework, porque lo damos a México, because we're going to Mexico. And so we would self-study in Mexico those 3 months that we were over there. February would roll around, and the whole process repeated itself. So you can see how disruptive that was for us to get a good education. I think I got to give credit to my parents, though. In spite of them only having a third grade education, they put a lot of emphasis, a lot of importance to it. And like many migrant farm working families, Monday through Friday, we were in school. Eso sí, se llegaba sábado y domingo, Saturday, Sunday rolled around. We were hand in hand with my parents working in the fields. And while many of my classmates always looked forward to summer vacation, the Hernandez kids dreaded it because we knew that meant 7 days a week in the fields. And so we didn't like it. My dad, in spite of them just having a third grade elementary education, both my mom and my dad, I think they would have made great psychologists because they were the master motivators. And I don't mean that from a bad perspective in terms of forcing us or anything, because I remember, every day after work, especially, when we worked in the cucumbers, for example, when you pick cucumbers, the rows are muddy, so you wear Levi's and they get muddy, and then the afternoon sun bakes them, so they're stiff. I remember when we used to get home, we used to take off the Levi's, all 4 of us, and we would stand them up, see if we could make them stand by themselves. So much mud. Of course, I was the youngest one, and I rode in the mud, so I always won. But I remember every day as we got in the back seat of the car, and we would make a game out of it, because we would tell each other, as kids, say, today he's going to forget, but he would never forget. Before he put that key in the ignition, he would look back at us, and he would say, ¿Cómo se sienten? How do you guys feel? Of course, we would say, well, we're tired, we're tired, sweaty, 30. And we would say, well, we're tired. And he said, good. He says, remember this feeling, because I'm not going to force you to go to school. I'm not going to force you to study. I'm not going to force you to get good grades. But if you don't, this is what awaits you. So pretty powerful message, pretty powerful message. My mom also, she walked the talk with respect to education. Every time we came home from school, she would sit us on the kitchen table, and we would not leave there until we had our homework done. Up to the 3rd grade, she helped us. After the 3rd grade, she wasn't able to help us. But, she was smart enough to realize that we finished her. I know it took me once trying to trick her and I visited with the belt to ensure that I wouldn't try that stuff again. And she would be making tortillas and el arroz, el pollo while we were doing our homework. Then once we finished, we would read something, then we could go outside and play. And the other thing was that she always talked to us with a certain level of expectation. In other words, she always said, cuando vayan a la universidad a estudiar, she would never say if, she would say when. So she sort of said that bit early on, and that's the bit that made me think when I was a freshman in college. I said, how am I going to tell my mom that I'm not going to college? How am I going to tell them I'm not? That's what gave me the strength to say, I got to keep going. And our life didn't change until probably the 2nd grade. In the 2nd grade, something amazing happened for us, life-changing, and that was, it was about November, and recall there's 4 of us in our family. I was the youngest one in the family, and it was time to go to Mexico. So my my dad said what he always said, give me 3 months worth of homework, we're going to Mexico. And so that day I went to school, and my teacher, Mrs. Young, a Chinese, beautiful Chinese teacher, she must have been 4 or 5 years out of college, and she was my teacher. You know, she was tall, well, tall because I was in 2nd grade. She was tall at the time, because I've seen her since she's been tall. I told her, I told her, Mrs. Young, I said, we're going to Mexico, can I have my 3 months worth of homework? And of course, you know, she looked at me with kind of like a disgusting, you know, she rolled her eyes and she said, you know what? Tell your parents I'm going to come home and visit them tonight. I said, okay. So that day, I ran home to school, from school to home, and we lived about 1.5 miles, you know, on the east side of Stockton, cross railroad tracks, packing sheds, and get home. And, you know, in those days, 1.5 miles wasn't far. I think nowadays, if you make your kid walk 1.5 miles, you'll get arrested for child endangerment. But in those days, it was okay. You know, so nevertheless, we ran home, and I told my parents, I said, la maestra va a venir a la casa, the teacher's coming home. So you get 2 distinct reactions from your parents, right? Imagine. La primera de tu papá, right? First thing he starts taking off his belt. He says, okay, ¿qué hiciste? What do you do? And I said, no, really, I didn't do anything. He said, te va a ir peor si no me dices. It's going to be worse if you don't tell me. If the teacher tells me, it's going to be a lot worse. And I said, no, I think she wants to talk about Mexico. Más te vale, you better be right on this. And then the reaction from my mom is completely different. You know, you guys seen the movie Home Alone, right? You know, the surprise look. And it's va a venir la maestra. We gotta clean the house. And so when la maestra is gonna come, you know, you pull all the bells and whistles out to make her feel at home, at her house, in our house. So that day, you know, we cleaned the house. My mom made a great dinner. I even remember telling Mrs. Young after we ate, I said, Mrs. Young, you ought to come over more often. We ate pretty good today. And anyway, after dinner, you know, she gets down to business and talks to my parents. And she says, look, I've had all 4 of your kids, and they seem to do very well in school and seem to be very motivated. And she explained it in terms that they can understand. She said, you know, why don't you set roots, sienta raíz en un lugar, so the trees can grow strong. The trees were us kids, and so that's what she told. That's what she told my parents. So what we did is, you know, that November we still went to Mexico, but on the way back, you know, we went, instead of going to Ontario, Salinas, we came straight to Stockton, and we started making Stockton. And our 3-month trips to Mexico started shrinking, and it started being around 3 weeks centered around Christmas, so we wouldn't miss much school. So now our education started getting, you know, we started getting traction on our education.